In this video, we'll see the letters lamed, mem, and nun. We'll also continue to see more sofit forms of letters, and more nickeled vowel signs. I hope you still remember aleph, bet, vet, gimel, dalet, and hey. And also
vav, zayin, chet,
and
tet, yod, kaf, kaf sofit, chaf,
and.
chaf sofit.
Now we're ready to see lamed, mem, mem sofit, nun, and nun sofit. In Hebrew, some letters are written differently when they are found at the end of a word. The end form of such letters are called
sofit.
In the previous video, we saw two sofits,
kaf sofit,
and.
chaf sofit,
Now, we'll see the letter mem, and its end form,
mem sofit.
We'll also see the letter nun, and its end form,
nun sofit.
And this time, we'll see more nickeled vowel signs. Note that the nickeled signs for the vowel a always have a little flat line. And the nickeled signs for the vowel a always have a minimum of 2 little dots below a letter, so remember E for egg, and it really looks like eggs being laid below. Now, the vowel e is like the dot below an exclamation point, so remember it like the exclamation of a shriek during an injection. And the nickeled sign for the vowel o is always a dot on top of a letter. Now let's start seeing the letters.
Lamed, lamed, lamed
Has the L sound. Here's an example of a word that starts with the letter lamed.
lo, lo, lo,
Is the Hebrew word for no.
lo, lo,
Is formed by
lamed,
an.
aleph,
Remember, aleph is a silent letter. The nickeled sign that tells us to pronounce it as an O is the dot on top of the aleph. So, an L, followed by an O sound, forms the word
lo, lo,
Now, let's see the letter mem. Mem has the M sound. And, as you can see, mem has a sofit form, so, when mem is the last letter in a word, we write its end form,
mem sofit.
Let's look at examples of words that have the letter mem. In this example, we have a word formed by
mem, lamed,
an.
chaf sofit,
So, we say,
melech, melech, melech
is the Hebrew word for king. Let's see the nickeled vowel signs in the word
melech,
Note that there is a nickeled sign for the vowel a under the letter mem, and also under the letter lamed. This nickeled sign is called
sgol.
It is the sound of a, as in the a of the word hello. And note that the last sound of this word is the sound of
chaf,
And because the sound of chaf is the last sound of the word, we write it as its sofit form.
כף סופית.
So we pronounce this word as
מלך. מלך.
Now, in this example, we have the letter mem within a word.
אמא. אמא. אמא.
This is the Hebrew word for mother. Ima is formed by an aleph, a mem, and another aleph. Note that under the first aleph is a nikud sign for the vowel e. This nikud sign is called
חיריק.
It tells us to pronounce the vowel sound e, as in the e of igloo. So, because aleph is a silent letter, we pronounce the vowel sound indicated by the nikud sign under it. And note that there is a nikud sign for the vowel a under the letter mem, so we pronounce the m sound with an a. That's why we say
אמא. אמא.
Now, in this example, we have a word that begins with the letter mem, followed by a yod, and then ends with a mem sofit. This clearly illustrates the rule of sofits. In the case of letters which have sofit forms, the standard letter is written when it is at the beginning, or within the word, but we write the sofit form in instances when the letter is at the end of the word. So, even though this word's beginning, and also its end, both have the sound of m, the letter mem at the start is written as the standard form, whilst the mem at the end is written as a mem sofit, because it is the end form of mem. Now, let's pronounce it.
מים. מים. מים
is the Hebrew word for water. Now, let's look at the nikud signs. Under the first mem is the nikud sign for the vowel a, and under the yod is the nikud sign for the vowel e. A dot at the bottom of a letter is called
חיריק.
This dot tells us to pronounce e, as in the e of igloo. So, we have a ma, then a ye, then an m sound. So we say
מים. מים.
And remember, mem has a sofit form, so we write the mem sofit when the m is the last letter of a word. This time, let's look at the letter nun. Nun has the n sound. And as you can see, nun has a sofit form.
נון סופית.
This means that when the n sound of nun is the last sound of a word, we should write the sofit form of nun. Let's see some examples of words with the letter nun. Here is a word with the letter nun in the middle.
אני. אני. אני
is the Hebrew word that we use when we want to say I, me, or I am. For example, if I want to say I am Sarah, this is how I'll say it in Hebrew.
אני שרה.
Now, let's look at the nikud vowel signs in the word ani. Remember, aleph is a silent letter, so it is the nikud sign that tells us how to pronounce it. In this case, the nikud sign is a hataf pata. It is a flat line followed by two vertical dots. This is the sign for a very short, or fast, a sound. And note that after the short a sound, is a letter nun with a nikud sign that tells us to pronounce the vowel e. And then, the word ends with the letter yod, which has a y sound. So, we pronounce this as
אני, אני.
Now, let's see a very well-known Hebrew word.
אמן, אמן.
The word amen is used in prayers. It is an ancient Hebrew word that means verily, or certainly. This word is formed by an aleph, a mem, and a nun sofit.
אמן, אמן.
In the word amen, we have two nikud signs. Under the aleph is ikmats, which tells us to pronounce the vowel a, and under the letter mem is the nikud sign that tells us to pronounce an e sound. Remember, nikud signs for pronouncing e as an egg is a minimum of 2 horizontal dots under a letter. The sign with 2 horizontal lines is called
צירה.
and, as you can see, the n sound is the last sound in this word, so as a rule, we write the sofit form of the sound. In this case, we therefore write a nun sofit. It is the end form of the letter nun which has the n sound. So we pronounce this as
אמן, אמן.
And finally, let's see the Hebrew word for yes.
כן, כן.
This word is formed by the letter kaf, followed by a nun sofit.
כן, כן.
The word ken is spelled with the letter kaf and a nun sofit. This is another example of the rule of sofits. As you can see, the n sound is the final sound in this word. Therefore, the sofit form of the letter nun is used here. And as we have seen in a previous example, the vowel a, as in egg, is pronounced when we see a nikud sign that has at least 2 horizontal dots. It's like seeing eggs laid underneath the letter, so pronounce it as the a of the word egg. So, now you know how to say yes in Hebrew.
כן, כן.
Wow, look at that. We're now more than halfway through getting to know all the letters. Let's review all the letters we've seen so far.
א',
Bet, vet, gimel, dalet, and hey. And also,
ו', זעים, ח',
and,
ט', י', כ', כ' סופית, כ', כ' סופית,
and now, you also know.
למד, מ', מ' סופית, נון,
And,
נון סופית,
and you now know that the letter mem is written as its end form mem sofit when it is the last letter of a word. And the letter nun is written as its end form nun sofit when it is the last letter of a word. You have also seen many nikud vowel signs for the vowels a, e, and o. So remember, the nikud signs for the vowel a always have a little flat line. And the nikud signs for the vowel a always have a minimum of 2 little dots below a letter. So remember e for egg, and it really looks like eggs being laid below. Now, the vowel e is like the dot below an exclamation point, so remember it like the exclamation of a shriek during an injection. And the nikud sign for the vowel o is always a dot on top of a letter. Now, let's review the words we've seen.
לא, לא. כן, כן. אמא, אמא. מים, מים. אמן, אמן. אני, אני. מלך, מלך.
So, please remember,
למד, מם, מם סופית. נון,
and
נון סופית.
see you in the next video for more letters and more of the nickeled signs.